Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. We're going to get started in just a few moments. We're just letting people kind of join the meeting, and we'll kick it off in just a moment. Could I get y'all's help? And could I get someone to just type in the chat if my audio is working all right and y'all are able to hear me?
Okay, we can see in the question panel that it's good.
All right, perfect. Alrighty, well, why don't we go ahead and get started, and we can start talking about some of the features that we've released this year and kind of walk you through some of the things that we're really excited about as a team. Just to kind of level set before we start the meeting, this is probably going to take somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. The presentation is recorded if you didn't catch that little notice when it started. So this will all be recorded, and it will be sent out to everybody in a follow-up email. So everyone will have a copy of the information we presented today. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, if you could just help us out by typing them into that questions panel on the GoToWebinar control options. That'll help us out, and we'll be able to answer those questions towards the end of the presentation after we've reviewed the content. Additionally, you'll notice that there's several handouts in the handout section of the webinar. So we've included some support materials there to help y'all out, but we've also provided some instructions for how to access those on our website towards the end of the presentation. And then there will be a short survey towards the end when we send out all the details, just requesting a little bit of feedback from y'all just to help us out moving forward. And we'd really appreciate y'all's help there and any insights you can give us. So I will go ahead and kick this off. So today we have the team. We've got Matt Jacobson, our customer success manager. We've got Mel Motot, who's our instructional design and developer, and then myself, Alex Carter, who's the product marketing manager for Hippo. And today we're going to be walking through some of the features that we've developed based off of y'all's suggestions. So we really appreciate the requests that y'all have and the suggestions that come into our for our products within AHA, and we'll be walking through some of the features that we've developed from those suggestions. We'll be going over some of the just other features that we've developed throughout the year that we're wanting to highlight. And then we'll follow up with a support and feedback survey towards the end. So to kind of kick it off, here's a brief list of some of the features that have been developed based off of y'all's input. So current throughout the presentation, we'll get into a lot more detail of these, and we'll show you how they work and how to access them, get you set up so you can start leveraging these features immediately. But first and foremost, editing a completed work order was a highly requested item, and we've now got that available to make everyone's lives easier. It comes along with the activity log to show work that is already done. Looking at further down the list, some of the work orders and comments and tasks have been developed, as well as a number of UX improvements to the mobile app in regards to viewing data as well as the work order flow. We've generated mobile demand work order templates, as well as worker timer enhancements. And these are all based off of y'all's feedback, so truly appreciate it. To get into more detail of how these features work and where to find them, I'm going to pass the reins over to Mel, who's gonna walk us through. There we go. Who's going to be able to walk us through that demo environment and show us how that works.
All right, so thank you, Alex. Yeah, this is definitely pretty exciting. Some of the new features that we're going to discuss today have been on the to-do list for quite some time, so I know I'm pretty happy about this. Just to reiterate what Alex was speaking of is, when all of you log into Hippo, you all have access to a support and feedback panel. Some of you are well aware that if we click on feedback, you have to register one time, but this takes you to our ideas portal. And this is where we really listen to you. You have the opportunity to see what's coming up new, any suggestions that you've made, or you also have the opportunity to go ahead and vote on other suggestions that have come directly from our clients. So a lot of information here. If you sign up and you vote for something, for example, you'll receive notifications when such things are released. So the big one we want to announce is, as you can see released, we had quite a few votes on this, and that was to edit a completed work order. So let's get into that. I'm directly going to go ahead into the system and demo how now, once a work order has been completed, a user does have permission to go back into that ticket and edit any information. For example, if I use my work order search panel and I know that there's been a work order out there that at some point has been completed, but let's say I forgot to, what we often see is, oh, I forgot to add parts information, or I forgot to add an invoice. So you can go into any completed work order. I'm just going to pull up a newer ticket. And when I do open up that work order, if the user has permission, they will now receive an edit button with the actions at the bottom of the work order. So typically, as you all know, once a work order has been completed, all these fields are grayed out. But as I mentioned, let's say I forgot to add a part to this completed work order. When I click on the edit button, notice that my fields are now outlined in gray as opposed to grayed out. So that means that I can click into those fields and edit information. If I go to my parts drop down, and let's say I forgot to add this belt to this particular work order, I have the ability to click on edit. I can go back into my part, select the part I need. I can see I have 15 on hand, so great for this work order. I forgot to indicate, let our inventory department that I've used one. Now that information has been added, and when I hit save, I've edited the work order details to that completed work order. So pretty straightforward, pretty self-explanatory, but like I said, we often see this with people saying, can you go back in a work order? I forgot to add the invoice details, or I forgot to add, resources. Often, a lot of times, technicians will forget to use that decimal point. Instead of saying I worked on a ticket for 0.5, which would be just half an hour, they put in, say, 5 hours. So if I open my work order back up, you can see that my changes have been made and displayed at the bottom. Okay. Now, another exciting feature that we added, basically it stemmed off when we created this new feature, is we also now have the ability to view an activity log. So what I mean by that is, let's say that you want to see timestamps, any processes, any changes to a particular work order. So what this does is it allows you to go into a work order, and if the user has permission, again, we've added that new field at the bottom of the ticket where you can view activity log. So when I click on my drop down, this will give me a list of any interactions from the work order, by which user, and when. So for example, if the ticket was created for a particular asset, or I added parts, or labor rates. We'll have the steps, again, which user, and time stamped when. Now, we realize that not everybody might need access. I'll also point out that these two features are independent of each other. You can have permission to just view activity log. You can separately have permission to edit. Now, where that applies is typically a system admin at your organization. They will need to go into a user's permission form. So when I open up this grid and click the key icon, say next to Alex's name, to give a user permission to edit a work order, that would be applicable on the facility admin page. And you would want to put a check in the box next to that permission name. Go ahead and hit save. But if you also want a particular user to view activity log, go to the facility general page, and under the subcategory of work orders, you'll see that new permission here. My suggestion is to hit save. I would also, if you want this to function automatically, you might have to log out, log back in. But now, for example, when Alex logs in, he will have those features. Okay. Now, we've come up with some other great work order enhancements over the year 2020. Particularly, again, it was a huge request that a lot of our users always mentioned that there was more details that they wanted to add to a task. So on the bottom of a work order, if you do have a task list, oh, pardon me, I opened up the wrong ticket here. Let's say you open up a work order, usually with preventative maintenance, there's a lot of tasks or checklists associated. So to the bottom of that ticket, let me pull one up here. So towards the bottom of that ticket, if there is a task list, we've also introduced the features to add comments to each task or an attachment. So perhaps I checked off task 1 and 2, but I have a specific comment related to this. I can click on the comment icon, and that allows a type field where I can add message, details, anything more specific to this task specifically. Now, when I hit post, you will receive, or you'll notice that there's a notification there on how many tasks. You'll see who put in the task, when, and what their actual, who put in that comment, when, and what their actual comment was. Now, beyond that, we also included that you can add an attachment to particular work orders. So if I need to check the filter, maybe in this instance, I went ahead and I want to attach an image. I'll go into my files, just to be a bit more specific and say, I'm going to click and drag. This is the actual filter I used on this work order. And I'll go ahead and save that information. Now, if anybody goes back into that ticket, all users that have access to this work order will have the ability to see if there is any comments, one comment associated here, and here we have a notification for one attachment associated here. So definitely an advantage that this saves time. It helps communication across your whole team just by having more robust features associated to the information in your work orders. So as Alex mentioned, I will point out that we do have handouts in your GoToWebinar. If you guys want to go ahead and download those, I'll point out that you all have access to our Hippo Help Center as well. So if and when any questions come up, don't ever hesitate to click on that icon. Search for those guides that we've conveniently attached today, but you can find all of those articles here or send out a message to our team. Now, one other thing is if you have a message to send to somebody about a particular work order, one of the other features that we created this year was to create a link associated to one specific ticket. So if I want to bring the attention quickly to the details of work order 42830 in this case, I'll click on the copy link, I get my notification, and for example, quite easily you can go ahead and say send this in an email to someone. So if I want, say, Matt to receive a notice about this work order, I'm just going to paste that in my email. Matt receives my link, he can click on this, and automatically, if he's logged in, it will take him to this page where the ticket is automatically open. So he doesn't have to search through it. If he's not logged in, it will present him with the Hippo login screen. And yeah, that's basically it. I think Matt is going to introduce, but hopefully that helps your team. Like I said, communication-wise, saving time, great new features that we've introduced to our program this year.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for the help there, Mel. Let me see if this is sharing correctly. And
yeah, and thanks a lot for that, Mel. I know myself, I'm really excited about editing completed work orders there, as I know many of you are. Now, what we also did throughout 2020 is we addressed a few other enhancement areas, specifically around work order flows and documents. So that's what I'm going to discuss here. So the first thing you'll see on the left is the ability to play and pause work orders. So this is something that we added to allow for more flexibility with not having to reject lots of work orders for scenarios that are out of your control, equipment downtime that's been prolonged, and things like plant shutdowns or people going on vacation. So you can now play and pause individual PMs, as you'll see next to the PM name on the scheduled work orders grid. There will be a play button or a pause button, or a button with a little yellow exclamation, which tells you that there's no next scheduled date for this PM. So it's also a really handy way to see if there's any PMs that have stopped generating for any reason. So with this functionality as well, you can also make use of bulk play pause by clicking the individual check marks to the left of the PM name as well, and pressing the play pause button up in the top right corner of the screen. So when you do resume these PMs, what will happen? They'll pick up based off their schedule, and they'll start generating again. So the second thing that we did with the PMs was we gave you some extra flexibility in how you can schedule them, and now doing that on an hourly basis. So this is going to give you more flexibility, especially for work orders that you might have to complete multiple times a day, especially when it comes to different cleaning inspections or sanitization. things of that nature. But also if you want to split up your work orders between your first, second, third shifts. So if you don't want your first shift team to be worried about seeing all the work orders that second and third shift have to do, you can set those work orders to schedule up closer to the time when they actually start for the day. So this is a really nice feature that I think a lot of people are going to love. Next up is a nice little enhancement to our equipment page. This is also something that was asked quite frequently from our customers. So now we can add multiple documents to a piece of equipment. So instead of just having it selectable for all work orders, regardless of what the equipment's on, if you have specific records like lockout, tagout procedures, calibration certificates, or just specific invoices for work that's been done, you can now upload all of those to the equipment directly from the equipment modal here. And it'll only be visible on work orders that pertain to that piece of equipment or on the equipment grid. So you can start keeping everything a little bit more segmented. Now, I know I definitely did hear from some of our admin users around the time when we made this change. So what we noticed was that, especially organizations that have a much heavier requester usage, it can be difficult to manage permissions for your actual users who are driving the software on a day-to-day basis. So we split those up into their own grid. So if you're ever wondering where a user has went, you can always check requesters, which is right under the users menu on the admin screen. So with that as well, it's also simplified their permissions. In order to be a requester, there's only one permission you need, and that's can submit work order request. So you'll see a very stripped down version of those permissions when you're editing a user on the requester page. And if you do have room and you want to move a requester over to the users grid and give them full permissions for things, all you have to do is check off the CMMS checkbox on that permissions window again. And then the same is going to be reversed for moving users over to requesters. Sorry about that, we can move forward there. And then lastly, this is personally one of my favorite releases of the year, and that's demand work order templates. Something that we see a lot is that there's always work to do that happens frequently, but not with any set schedule. So we gave you more of the abilities that you have with PMs, but to template for your demand work orders. So those are going to function like a PM in the fact that you can pre-assign task lists, add documents, have your estimated effort, and your descriptions. So for all of those common tasks, if you are on our HIP Pro Plus or Hippo Pro subscription tier, you have access to this right away, and you can go ahead and start creating those. It can really take a lot of that legwork out of creating work orders, even if it's just basic information that you need on there. So to those points, if of course anybody does have questions, as Mel has mentioned, Alex has mentioned, you can always reach out to our support team, either via phone, email, or through that conversation window in the app, or you can reach out to your customer success manager as well, and we'll make sure that you know everything that you need to know about these features.
All right, thanks, Matt. So yeah, as Matt was just mentioning, if you need to reach out for any other help on this, we've got the email link here, and we've got this little box around the icon that allows you to get directly in touch with us that Mel was showing earlier. So feel free to reach out to us with either of those platforms. But at this time, I suppose we can start looking through some of these questions and chipping away at those. All right, Mel and Matt, if I could have your help. How about we start from the bottom?
We're just, I'm responding to a couple of these questions here, absolutely. So if people take a look at the questions panel. I do have a question. I want everyone to know that the feature to edit a work order and to view activity log has been enabled in everyone's database. That you automatically will get that feature. But remember, you have to go into someone's user permission form and apply that permission to a specific person. It doesn't mean that everyone's automatically going to get it. That is a specific permission setting. And I'm just taking a look at some of these other questions here.
All right. Actually, I do see a question here from Seth, and it's actually a very good point. So his question is, what if as a maintenance tech, I'm on vacation and one of my leads closes out a bunch of daily work orders the day before I get back, but the daily log is filled out correctly by the operator? Can I change completed dates with the edit work order feature? The answer to that is yes, you can change that completed date without affecting the close date. So Hippo does have two date fields for that, with close date being a hard timestamp that can't be changed, and that's when the work order is closed within the software. The completed date, on the other hand, that is something that a user can change and could be editable.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about John. And John, I'm wondering, I'm looking at, John, at your question here. You're not seeing the permission in the enterprise user facility admin. So hopefully, you notice that we're trying, we did enable it for everyone last night when we pushed this release, so maybe log out, log back in. But those permissions should definitely be there if you can change someone's permission. We're also receiving questions on emails. If somebody edits a work order, it will not release new email statuses of those changes. So just take note that it's editing, but it's more an internal feature. Somebody also asked me a question, can we go and reopen tickets? Our suggestion to you for best practice is if it's anything that really needs to be done again, to create a new work order, because you ultimately want to document that information. This is more for, say, editing the details, resource hours, the parts, etc. So no, it will not open up new tickets, and no, it will not send out any additional emails that are typically sent out, your status notifications or whatnot. All right. We're taking a look through these questions here. But I would say that they're pretty straightforward. So Alex, I would say that we're at the point to thank everyone for attending. I hope everyone is staying safe and well, and that you find an advantage to these new features that we've released 2020. Our dev team's definitely been working hard this year to get these goals and suggestions out by everyone.
Yeah, like Mel said, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to share these features with y'all and continue to look to y'all for more ideas for how we can continue improving our product. So thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will talk to y'all soon. Thanks so much, everyone.
Yeah, have a great day, everybody, and here's looking forward to 2021.